It sure is. I'm Paul Rayner. This is the 1st of October 1995. I'm talking to myself because there's nobody else in the room except a camera, 2 screens and a light. I'm the youngest of 8 children of Minnie and Frank Rayner, and I'm just here to record a few memories like everybody else that's been on this tape. Francis, Dennis, Jim and Winifred have held it for me. Kathleen won't do it for reasons of her own, and I don't think I'll catch up with Sheila. But here goes. One of my earliest memories is back in the house in Dean Street, and I think it was both Kathleen and Winifred that was at home then, and it must have been somewhere near Christmas because we were talking about Father Christmas, and we had an old-fashioned sort of black fire, and in the kitchen there was a black stove with sort of circular black covers on them, and if you took them off you could see down into the fire in the room. Now they tried to convince me that Father Christmas really did exist, and I think while Kathleen stayed with me in the room, Winifred went round to the kitchen and took the covers off and looked down here. Kathleen persuaded me to look up the fire, and I saw this face in the fire up the chimney, and they convinced me it was Father Christmas. And for a few years afterwards I was convinced that Father Christmas had a passing resemblance to our Winifred. It seemed strange at the time. The other thing that happened around about that time when I was very young was that I think somebody was babysitting me. I think it was Kathleen at the time, but she had a friend, one of the Scullys, I can't remember her name, but they had a sister who was about my age called Pat Scully, Patricia Scully, and one of the games that they used to play was to lock me and Patricia in the room and turn the lights off for about half an hour at a time, and I don't know what they expected us to do because we were only 6. I don't know who was more scared, her or me. If it seems a bit disjointed, this is because I'm stopping and starting it all the time to check whether the sound level and the lighting level is okay. And also it's a bit nerve-wracking when you're seeing yourself on a TV screen in front of you. Anyway, one of the other early memories that I've got is of Winifred. It was this time, and she was babysitting. I must have been very, very young, with a friend of hers, in Dean Street, and I wouldn't go to bed, or I was naughty or something, and they used to frighten me by telling me that the Tommyknocker would come and get me. Now I don't think they realised just how terrified I was of this. And one night, that must have been particularly bad, and they threatened me with Tommyknocker, and Winifred's friend must have crept out the back door and gone round to the front, and Winifred was threatening me. saying, you know, he would come and he's on his way. And I heard a knock on the door. And she said, he's here now, he's come to get you. And I was terrified. And I think I used to have nightmares about it. A piano in the corner at Main Street. And behind this piano was my den. And I don't know why, but we had, instead of normally, you'd have a piano against the wall. We used to have it across a corner. I don't know if it, you know, made it look as though we got more furniture than we had, because it was a big room. But anyway, I used to have my den behind there, and used to stay there for hours on end. I don't know what I used to do really, like writing little books and playing things and drawing, but that used to be my den. Once, when I was a little bit older, I can remember falling out with my mother for some reason, and she chased me around the house with a brush, and I sort of half left home. I went across to a friend of mine called Michael Graves, who lived across the road, and stayed there, and I said, I'm not going home again. Can I stay here? And I stayed there for, it must have been hours and hours. And when my mother came, eventually she came looking for me. Don't know what time it was, but it must have been 9 o'clock at night. It was about my bedtime, and she was worried about me. And I feel ashamed of this even now. The worry I put her through. But I told Christine Grady, who was a bit older than me, when she came to answer the door and say I wasn't there and she hadn't seen me all day. Eventually I think I went home half an hour or so later. I can't remember what happened to me after that, but probably was grounded. And I remember when I was young, Kathleen, who we haven't persuaded yet to do this tape, she's 5 years older than me, and she used to, everything that used to happen in the house that went wrong, she used to, well, I thought she used to blame me. I used to get the blame for everything because I was so small, I couldn't stand up for myself. I once remember she had a toy cookery set with small tiny pans and frying pans and things, and I think while my mother was out, she tried to cook some bacon and egg and stuff in this, and she must have made a mess or spilled something over the floor or something. Anyway, when mother got home, she was a bit mad, but Kathleen just turned around and said he did it. And I felt that a bit of an injustice had been done because I didn't have anything to do with it at all. But that was Kathleen. I've got some notes here, this is why I keep looking down. Just to remind myself, because my mind's getting a bit old now. I'm rapidly approaching 50 and things are falling apart. Memories going. Good job I'm doing this now. Because I wouldn't be able to remember anything next year. Anyway, I hope this is recording okay, because I don't want to do it again. I've done it once already and it didn't turn out well, because of a fault in the other recorder. I'm shouting as loud as I can now, so I hope it's coming through loud and clear. Right, the next thing, when it's not a tradition now, or it's not a tradition that's still going on, but when I was younger, it was the tradition to every Sunday to go around to relatives for Sunday dinner or Sunday tea. And with having a big family, we used to go around to various of them. I don't know whether we went in turn, but I can remember going to Sheila's and Mary's sometime, but not as often, and Jim's. I used to like going to Sheila's because, well, it was an adventure. It's only sort of 2 minutes away now, but they used to live at Pudsey, somewhere down Roker Lane, and it seemed as though it took us all day. We had to catch a couple of buses and walk a bit, and eventually we're there. It seemed to me like the other side of the country, but eventually we got there, and we could play out. There was some fields at the back, I think, where horses were, but especially one of the reasons that I liked going there was because that she had a son, Michael, and Tony, who was a bit younger, and they seemed to have lots and lots of toys. They had cardboard boxes full of toys that they used to pull out and play with. Well, I had a few, but I didn't seem to never have as many as they had. So I used to have a ball when I went over there. It was a bit different again at Jim's, because it used to be at Queensbury, which was fairly near, although again it was a bit of an adventure getting there. This was before cars and before taxis. We used to go there, Greenland Avenue, I think it was, and while it was pleasant going there, and they used to have a quarry behind there that we used to play in, and used to play down. And I can remember, I don't know the circumstances, but I can remember Peter breaking his collarbone doing something at the back of there, playing football or jumping off the wall or falling down the quarry or something like that. And I think, just to diverse a little bit, I think that Jim had an opportunity of buying this land at one time for a small price, and I bet he wishes he had now, because it's probably worth quite a bit. He might have been a millionaire. Anyway, I used to like going there, as I used to say, because I used to play with Peter and again Philip now. But one thing I didn't enjoy was that he always seemed, this is what sticks in my memory anyway, I don't know if it was sort of every week, but he always seemed to be setting 11 plus tests, and it was like another day at school really. I think it depended on how well we did in these tests as to whether we got any food or not. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, we ate very well. No, it was, I had a sort of pleasant childhood. I can't remember any traumas. I used to play a lot of football and cricket in season. Never remember ever going hungry. My mother used to bake. Some of the neighbours used to bake and give us things and swap things. And Mrs. Allroyd, I remember especially, an old woman who used to live a couple of doors away. She was very kind, and she was a good baker of apple pies and things. And I don't ever remember, as I say, being hungry. And there were some poor people on that street. Whether they were poor anyway or whether it was circumstance, I don't know. But the Grady's, who Michael Grady used to be my best friend for a while. I mean, they used to have tablecloths made of newspapers. They used to drink tea and, well, I don't think they drank coffee. I think it was a sort of alien substance in those days. But certainly tea they used to drink out of jam jars. They used to have, for main meals, I can remember when I joined them, they used to have things like sauce sandwiches and sugar sandwiches. You can't believe it now, but that's what used to happen. And I used to think, well, you know, we may not be the richest people in the world, but we're far better off than they were. But I don't know why they were, whether it was, you know, just a general shortage of money, or whether the parents drank it all away. But it was a fairly enjoyable childhood. I'm going to stop again now. Do it on again now. Good. Do I look better if I look up like that? One of the other things I remember is it must have been what they had their Ruby wedding this year. Was it Ruby 40th? So it must have been 55, wasn't it? And I must have been about 8 or 9. 8 probably. Dennis and May's wedding, and in the morning they wanted to borrow my collection of marbles. I had a fairly big collection, and somebody came along and says, you know, we want to borrow them. I couldn't think why at the time. I thought, you know, perhaps giving them to Dennis and May for a wedding present. But apparently they put them in the bed, because I don't know if they went on honeymoon later, but the wedding night they sort of stayed in Neame Street, and for a bit of a giggle they put them in the bed. I don't think they noticed them, and I think I got most of them back. I don't know. I think you still owe me a few tours. But they had the reception at Kenmore Working Men's Club, which was just along the road from here. It's no longer there now. It's been demolished for a few years. But I can remember with some others, and Philip was amongst them, and I think a few others as well. We went at the back and we made this great discovery that there was a pond there with all sorts of things in it, and especially tadpoles and millions of frogs. And it must have been that time of the year, and I mean, it was quite a walk from where we used to live, so we'd never been across this place before, but it was a new discovery, and we came up sort of time and time again afterwards. And my mum and dad used to use the club from time to time at night, because it was quite a nice little club really. And I used to go with them and drink Lucozade. Kathleen was a bit older, and I can't remember her coming with us very often, but I suppose she might have done. But I think the hill leading up to it, which is Haycliffe Lane now, which I have to come up on my bike, became a bit difficult for my mum in the end, and probably stopped coming. When just skipping a few years now because I can't remember much in between. When my mum had died in 1966, I was working in Leeds at the time. No, I wasn't. I was working in Bradford at the time, but shortly afterwards I gave my job up, and jobs were easy to come by in those days, so I found another job within a couple of 3 weeks in Leeds. And Sheila kindly invited me to stay with her in her house in Pudsey. So I went there because I was too young to keep on the house down Little Orton Lane, and eventually Mary moved in and I moved to Sheila's for a year. It wasn't the happiest year of my life, well, obviously not, because my mother had just died and I'd changed jobs, and I was growing up, and I think that it made me welcome that I was sharing a room with Michael, and as I probably would, or anybody probably would, I think that he felt that I'd intruded on his space, because he'd suddenly been asked from having a room on his own to sharing one with me. And I didn't make it very easy for myself either, because I was just at the age when I started drinking, and I don't think I had really too much, but I don't think I could hold it. And I used to go out with some friends in Leeds, and or friends in Bradford. I think I used to go out with McCain's a lot of the time, who led me astray on the drink front, and arrived home certainly not legless, but not totally sober. And one particular time I remember, it was Christmas, and I was working at this place in Leeds called Hurst and Sandler, and it was the first Christmas that I'd worked there. And apparently the tradition was that on the last day before the Christmas holidays, the bosses, the directors, would bring in a lot of booze and a lot of spirits and beer, and we'd have a bit of a party. So I didn't have any transport then, so I didn't have any problem about getting home, because I used to go home on the bus anyway. But there was, I don't think I'd drunk whiskey before this, but there was lots and lots of whiskey, and somebody poured me one. I think I never was a spirits drinker until this time. Somebody poured me a whiskey, and they were all sort of tumbler glasses, quite big glasses. It was a sort of full tumbler full. And I drank this, and although the first drink felt a bit fiery, it seemed to go down quite well, and after 2 or 3 of these I couldn't see what all the fuss was about. I was standing up, I seemed quite sober to me, and it started tasting very nice. Anyway, after about an hour or so, when I think all the booze had been drunk, we decided to go to this pub called the Regent, just across the main road from where we worked, to finish off. And when I got out sort of halfway across this road, I just clapped, my legs just gave way. It must have, I don't know what it is, but it must have been just hitting the fresh air, and my legs just collapsed, and I couldn't go any further. I was physically, literally lying in the middle of a main road with traffic coming either side of me, and the people that I was with had sort of gone over, and they had to come back. I managed to shout them, and they had to come back and pick me up and take me in this pub and plonk me on a stool. But I was a bit worse for wear already, and I think I must have had a couple more drinks in the pub. But again, to my everlasting shame, I felt sick, and yeah, a sort of normal reaction would be not to be sick over the table where your drinks are. So I turned my head when I knew I was going to be sick and I couldn't make it to the toilet in time. And I thought I'd be sick on the floor, which was, you know, bad enough, but not quite as bad as throwing up in everybody's drink. But unfortunately, one of the girls that I was with had left her handbag on the floor, and it was open, and I threw I threw up in her handbag, which wasn't very funny. She couldn't see the funny side of it. I don't know why. But after that, I think I must have gone to the toilet to clean up or something. Anyway, I went to the gents, and I went in one of the cubicles in the gents and locked the door. And I think it must be a common occurrence in the Rayner family, because Phil has told me that he once did the same thing at the George in Big House, and Jim had to come and take him home. Anyway, I locked myself in this toilet and sat down with the trousers around the ankles, and although I was fairly aware of where I was and what I was doing, I couldn't seem to physically get up or pull my trousers up and unlock the door. It seems it's a strange sort of occurrence, but people were banging on the door. They'd realised by this time, because I must have been missing about an hour and a half, and they'd realised that I wasn't there and I was still in the toilet, and I think somebody else wanted to go, and it was threatening to break down the door, which is what they had to do eventually to get me. And I was just there. I could have just stood up and pulled the latch back on, but I just couldn't physically do it for some reason, so they had to break down the door and take me home to Pudsey. Eventually I arrived at the door, and Sheila answered the door, and I was just propped up between two friends, and I was ill for 3 days after that. And another memory of being at Pudsey was when I think they went on holiday, and I must have been a very heavy sleeper at that time, because they came home. I'd done the usual thing and made sure all the doors were bolted and locked and everything. And I was in second floor, the attic or whatever it was. I was sound asleep, but apparently they came home early for one reason or another, and they tried to get in, and obviously the doors were bolted from the inside. I didn't expect them until the following day. They tried knocking, they tried throwing stones at the window, they tried going to a phone box and telephoning. Nothing. I slept through it. They had to break the door down to get in. The first I knew about it was when Michael came into the room, and I just slept through it all. After, in 1967 I think it must have been, because I think I just spent a year at Sheila's and decided that I needed a place of my own. I bought an old cottage on Home Top Lane that's still standing, although in the early 70s they wouldn't give me a grant to put a bathroom in there, because they said they were going to pull it down. It's still standing now, 20 odd years later. But I bought this, and I think I paid about £400, and I bought it by rental purchase, paying so much a week. No, I don't think I paid £400. I think it was something like 250, 300, something ridiculous like that. I sold it for £400, so I made a bit of a profit. Ridiculous. But it was kind of quaint from the outside. I called it the Ponderosa. It didn't have a bathroom though. I had to have a good standing up wash in the sink, I'll go up to Mary's, which I did quite often for a bath. I'll go anywhere for a bath. It used to have an outside toilet in the yard, in which I fixed a loudspeaker to keep me amused while I was out there. I used to play records and scare people who were not familiar with the loudspeaker setup. But we had one or two good parties down there, and being the age that I was, sort of 19 and 20, I didn't think much about tidying and cleaning up, and all my sisters, out of the goodness of their hearts, used to come down, and once a week I think it was, and clean up for me, and I used to take washing to Mary's, and she used to do it, so I was very, very grateful for them doing that, and I think it was a sort of social occasion for them as well. But they used to come down and do a bit of cleaning and then go to the pub, so it was a sort of meeting point for them. I think while I was down there as well, Mary once asked me, I think it was a birthday present, it was my birthday, I can't remember what it was, but she once asked me what I wanted, and I said I didn't know, but I'll leave it with you. I might have said something for the house, an ornament, something. Anyway, she gave me this statue, which is called the Kiss. It's a classical statue by Rodin called the Kiss. And it was very nice, except it had a piece missing from it. And she said, "Oh, and don't bother about that." She said, after I bought it, I dropped it in the meat market. And a little bit came off, and I never could find the bit. So I know what happened to the Kiss now. I had it up to a few years ago, but over the years it became a bit dusty and grimy, and I tried to clean it. Silly thing really when you look back on it, but I tried to clean it by putting it in water with bleach in, and I thought it would come out all brilliant white, but it disintegrated, so I lost my Kiss. Another present that Mary got me, she was good at buying unusual presents. I think this was a Christmas, and I'd seen some posters. It was a sort of psychedelic era, and some psychedelic posters of signs, birth signs, from the wall, and I said I'd like one of those, and I told her where they were in town. And I was born under Leo, and that's my birth sign. And come Christmas, she gave me this rolled up thing, which was obviously the post that I wanted. And when I opened it, it was Libra. And I said, "Well, what have you got me Libra for? I'm Leo." She said, "Oh, I know that, but they'd sold out of Leos, so I got you the nearest one." It was a talking point. I had a Libra poster up on my wall for years afterwards. One of the strangest things that's happened in the last few years, again jumping a few years now, it was, Phil and I had been cycling for a while now, because I used to play football, but when I gave that up, I found that I put on a bit of weight and I needed something to keep fit with. So we decided to, well, years and years ago now, maybe probably nearly 20 years, we decided to to do a bit of cycling. We've done it on and off ever since, well mostly on. We try not to miss that many Sundays, but only if it's really bad weather. I mean, we've been out when it's been frosty and we've got frost on our faces. We've cycled in car tyre tracks in snow, when it's been bouncing down, really all kinds of weather. And it keeps you fit. But anyway, for this one particular reason, we decided to have a change. One particular Sunday, we decided to have a change a few years ago now, and we went on a walk, or the idea was to go on a walk on the Pennine Way, and it was about a 12-mile walk from Hebden Bridge to somewhere near Haworth, Stanbury, over the moors. And I think, I stand to be corrected here, but I think it was in July, I'm not sure, but I think it was. And the starting point was Hebden Bridge, but we had to go to Stanbury first to drop a car off, then come round and do the same thing when we'd finished. Anyway, from Hebden Bridge we started near, on the main road, near a bridge over the road, following the instructions in a guide that we had, and we climbed up the hill, and we got lost after about a quarter of a mile because some of the paths weren't very well marked, and we were in the middle of nowhere, and we stumbled across this cottage, and we saw two people outside, or we knocked on the door, or I can't remember the details, but it was Frank and Sheila that it belonged to, and it was amazing because as everybody probably knows now, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's difficult enough to find it when you know where you're going, but to find it when you don't know where you're going, and to find it in the middle of a walk, and to find my brother living there is incredible. They said they'd only moved in the day before, and they hadn't told anybody. We didn't see them very often at that time. But it was fortuitous in a way, because we stayed there, had a drink, had a bit of parking or something, before continuing with our walk. But it was an amazing coincidence. We've been there many times since, and just recently for Winifred and Frank's birthdays, joint birthdays in July. I think I've rabbited on a bit now. I've probably done a good half hour. There's still going to be a bit of tape left on the end, I hope, because this is Sunday, the 1st of October. Phil's birthday. He's 47 today. Last night we went to Steve's 40th birthday, which was very enjoyable. And next week, next Sunday, we're going to Jim and Gladys's 50th golden wedding. So I'm hoping to take the camcorder there and tape a little bit just to finish off the tape. So I'll sign off now. I hope this all comes out, because I don't want to do it again. And I hope you all have a long and happy, enjoyable life. See you soon.